Good morning, all. CamelbackTrading.org coming to you this Tuesday morning, November 24th. We are looking at the last 3 days of balance of the SPY ETF's market profile here on Window Trader. And as you can see, the bulls, after defending the previous 2 days' lows from Thursday and Friday, are now attempting to gap higher at a very visual area we've been trading at for the past hour or so. And right now we're just above it. Remember, they had 3 days they could not get back into the lower distribution from the 18th. They basically got Jay's low yesterday. That's all they did. This morning, we're gapping not only inside of the lower distribution, but right above it, looking to take out the small set of single prints that the SPY had, even though the ES did not, and then get acceptance into the upper distribution, where they had a poor high that day. Remember, we've talked about this. Even when price ripped down on the 18th, I said we have 3 highs within a little bit over $1 of each other, with one of them being poor. These things become targets, just like all the way down at the 319.80 level. That's a target at some point that will get hit. But for now, bulls are trying to come out of a 3-day balance and start working their way towards the upper end of this 3-day balance. Now remember, with all this being done, we are still firmly inside, as you can see, the all-time high day of November 9th range. This will be day 11 or 12. So this battle continues. Balance within balance just continues over these last 2 weeks. The Russell exploding right now to another all-time high on a gap. They gapped higher out of a 5-day balance, held the gap, and now this morning, again attempting to gap higher to another all-time high. Triple Q is a little bit of a different story. Remember, they did have a very small trend day yesterday. Right now, we're literally pennies above where those single prints would get filled. They are still firmly mired in a 6-day balance. So first step is to take back the trend day from yesterday and then work their way up to the top of that balance. Look at these daily highs. You talk about daily highs being close to each other. Now again, I have this in 4 or 5 tick increments, so I don't have the exact number, but we could even round it out of 294 being the high of that day, and this day was the low of 292.70. You're talking about 6 daily highs within $1.30 of each other. Now, balance rules will certainly apply this morning in the triple Qs, right? And we all know the balance rules. You get to it, don't get to the top of it, roll over. Get to it, slightly stretch it to the upside, roll over, or get to it, get above it, and don't look back. Now, we're not close enough to it yet to make any determination which way they want to go, but it's certainly in sight. First things first, they have to take back the trend day from yesterday and stay above the lower distribution. Now, as far as we're concerned, let's go over destinations and a game plan. So for the upside right now, first destination I'm going to use are the single prints from the 18th of 360.16 get filled at 17, since there's still 75 minutes to go prior to the opening, and we've been hovering around that area. Then above that, we have our overnight high right now, 360.70, 361.50 daily high, poor high, 361.92 daily high, and 362.59 weekly high. So just like the bears had their chance to come out of an inside week to the downside, but never really threatened it yesterday, well, the bulls, not that they're close yet, but they're getting it within their sights to see at the upper end of an inside week. For the downside, right now we will use yesterday's high of 358.82 as our downside destination to fill the gap. Then below that, we have our overnight low of 357.26. And we don't have anything to the afternoon pullback low of 356.22 yesterday and a daily low of 354.87. We got to within 72 cents of last week's low. And the sellers totally got shut off here. Now we're going to see how buyers act if we are to push to the top of this 3-day balance that end the weekly high. So what is the game plan? Well, again, people will be yelling, gap rules apply. Gap rules apply when it's in context for me. So yesterday's high of 358.82. If we're to get a gap somewhere around 359.50 to 359.75, I don't mind taking that long play. My risk is less on the downside, and then I have something really nice to shoot for, which would be those single prints. However, if we are to open above those single prints, well, the gap is just too big for me. I'd be waiting for an inventory adjustment. Here's the overnight, folks. Here's where we closed yesterday. You see this little rectangle? Here's the overnight. So the overnight is, we open below a little bit. Overnight's totally long up here. So I don't want to be buying a gap of $1.50, $2 to have an inventory adjustment hit me in the face. So if we gap and go, that's fine. I miss it. However, if we gap, come back into a reasonable level, taper off, I'll take a long. My risk is less. That's a call play very early. Is there a put play? Well, we're really trading at a visual area right here. So the question is this all they want to do? Remember how much trouble we had just getting into the lower distribution. So if all they want to do is fill the single prints and then have trouble inside the upper distribution, well, then that remains to be seen. But I won't take, right now, I do not have a put on my radar. Now, if we do get into this upper distribution, we do have a poor high. I would think that would fall at some point. And we have 3 highs very close to each other. But we know the difficulty of these short-term algos to want to be the first one to start the stampede above this 3-day balance, especially with a weekly high looming. So if we were to really push up, that might possibly be a put play. Not because the market's bad, but to see the first time if they push up here before they take out, say, one of these daily highs to maybe trade sideways. 2 very early plays. Come into CamelbackTrading.org's voice channel room for $20 a month. Market profile streaming all day with these trade ideas every time frame of the day. Now, let's go to the charts quickly. So monthly, the bulls just continue to defy the bears, pushing them into last month's range. 354.02. Every time they get $6 to $8 away from it, the sellers show up. Or the buying, I shouldn't say the sellers show up. The buying gets cut off. Nobody wants to extend it to go to the all-time high. There are no sellers in this market. So the question is that going to be the case again if we get anywhere near those 3 days highs? Right now, balance inside month up. Weekly, inside week. Sellers got rejected at the low of last week. Now what happens at the top of last week? A buyer is going to find that same rejection, or do they come out of the inside week to the upside? And then on the daily, 3-day balance. Inside day up yesterday failed. Inside day down yesterday failed. Chance for outside day. We had a chance for everything. Everything failed. We have a 3-day balance coming out of it on a gap this morning. Good luck trading today. Have a great day, and we'll recap at 4 p.m.